Okay, so we'll start as soon as the record light turns off. We're going to actually start laying down though today, so as you're ready, you can go ahead and come to lying down. Just have the strap someplace where you can grab it or whatever you're using. And it could be literally almost anything that just helps you to grab your foot more easily. And as I said, just coming to your back, your knees can be bent, feet on the ground. Knees can either point up toward the ceiling, feet about hip distance width apart, or knees can fall gently in toward each other. Your right hand can come to your belly, your left hand can come to your heart, and you can just soften or close your eyes here. And again, we have a few more seconds before starting, but if you want to come into this position early, you can do that. Okay, so I'm just here with the right hand on the belly, the left hand on the heart, coming to lying on the floor. And again, your knees can gently drop in towards each other, or they can point straight up towards the sky, whichever works for you, better for you. Soften or close your eyes, and just turn into the flow of the breath here. Feeling the air on the nostrils. And then just feeling the lungs moving with the breath. The lungs expanding out on the inhales, and softening back in on the exhales. And just letting yourself settle into your breath. At the same time, let yourself release into the support of the earth. So feel yourself being supported and held as you feel the breath flowing through you. And as the breath begins to lengthen and deepen, you can notice if your hands are moving with the breath. One, both, neither. Just observing how the breath moves through your body as you come into a full deep breath. With every exhale, letting the lungs settle down, letting the torso settle down to the earth. And with every inhale, just feeling expansion from inside out. Maybe both hands lift up, maybe just one does. Breathe. Throughout class, I invite you to stay deeply connected to your breath. So if at any point during class you notice your thoughts are drifting or wandering, just bring your awareness, your attention back to the breath. I also invite you to stay deeply connected to yourself. So one, connect to yourself. Two, notice just what's going on right now. So for instance, notice if one hip or the other hip feels like it's heavier, the right or the left side. Do the same with your shoulders and your feet. But just notice what's going on with your body, and if you want to balance things out, you can. But really more importantly right now, again, just notice what's going on. Feel what's going on in your body. And throughout class, also keeping this deep connection to yourself. And feel free to use this connection to modify, adjust, and adapt the practice as needed. Even when what I say sounds like a command, that's just shorthand, it's an invitation. Feel free to modify, adjust, and adapt. All I ask you to do is to stay connected to the flow of the breath and to move with this connection a little bit. So breathe. As you stay here, again, just observing your body. Feel the feet nice and heavy on the earth and trying to balance them out. Feel the hips nice and heavy on the earth, trying to balance those out. Notice the low back right above the hips. The low back lifts up off the ground a little bit. But with your next exhale, let the rib cage settle down. Not so much that the back flattens out, but just so the rib cage moves towards the spine. The shoulders feel nice and heavy and even. Neck is lifting up a little bit. And then with your chin in neutral, the back of the head feels nice and heavy. Now, we've been here for a bit. If this is starting to bother your neck and you need to take a break and pause and get something to slide under your head and neck, feel free to do that. Breathe. With your next inhale, just gently let your eyes open if they were closed. And then just bring your hands into a T position, feet as wide apart as your mat, and exhale the knees over to the right side. Inhale up to center. Exhale the knees to the left. So just doing windshield wipers with the feet nice and wide apart. Exhaling the knees to the right. Inhale to center. And exhale the knees to the left. Going back and forth with the flow of your breath. And then the next time your knees end up on the right side, go ahead and hold the knees over on the right side. If you want to, you can take the right foot on top of the left knee, drawing the left knee closer toward the ground. If you want to, you can stretch the left arm back for the wall behind you. Breathing here as you stretch the left knee forward for the wall out in front of you. Nice, full, deep breaths. And then if your right ankle is crossed over your left knee, keep it there as you lift the left knee back up towards the sky. You can walk the left foot a bit closer in towards center, so right ankle crossing over the left knee, eye of the needle. With their right ankle, just make sure it's not sickling or bending, stretching through the inner edge of that right ankle, and then gently press the right thigh away from you. Feel free to stay here with the hips nice and heavy and balanced on the ground. Or keeping your hips nice and heavy, go ahead and lift the left foot up. And if you'd like to, you can hold on to the back of the left leg with your hands. The right hand would come in between the hole in the legs. The left hand would reach around the outer left leg. And you can gently pull that left leg in towards you. If you notice your low back above your hips is starting to get heavier than the hips, then just try to shift the weight down into your hips a little bit more. The low back might be on the ground, but heavier hips if possible as you breathe. And then go ahead and release the left leg, lower the left foot to the ground, and cross the right leg. Open your feet as wide apart as your mat, hands back into a T. Lowering the knees over to the left side, and if you want to, the left ankle on top of the right knee. And then if you would like, the right arm stretching back for the wall behind you, as the right knee stretches for the wall forward out in front of you. Breathing here, nice full deep breaths. And then go ahead, bring the hand, the arm back into a T. With the left ankle crossed over the right knee, still lift the right knee up. If the left ankle wasn't crossed over the right knee to begin with, you could go ahead and cross it over now. And then stretching to the inner edge of your left ankle so your ankle doesn't bend. Gently press the left thigh away from you and try to even out your hips. So again, if the right or the left side of your hips feel heavier, then just balance those out. Then pressing down through the hips, maybe lift the right foot up and maybe hold on to the back of the right thigh. Breathing here. If possible, head and shoulders relax down towards the ground, but if that doesn't work for you, you can engage your core and intentionally lift the head and shoulders up. Seeing if you can keep your hips a little bit heavier than the low back, so shifting the weight down into your hips and breathing here. Okay. Go ahead and release the right thigh. Uncross your feet, both feet on the ground. Hips heavy, hands to your low ribs. Settle the low ribs down to the ground. But again, not so much that the low back flattens, not so much that you're scooping your hips under, but just low ribs, core engaged. Feel the shoulders and the back of the head heavy. And then with your next exhale, lift your feet up off the ground with your knees bent. And then keeping the core engaged, inhale, tap the right foot towards the front of the mat with the knee bent. And then exhale and bring it back in. And then inhale, tap the left foot toward the front of the mat with the knee bent. Exhale, bring it back in. Inhale, the right foot taps. Exhale, bring it back in. Core staying engaged. Inhale, left foot taps. Exhale, bring it back in. Inhale, right foot taps. Exhale, bring it back in. Inhale, left foot taps. Exhale, bring it back in. Lower the soles of the feet down to the ground. And then straighten the left leg along the ground with your left knee and toe pointed up to the sky. Both hips are still heavy, core is still engaged. Press down through the left leg. With the knee and toe turning toward the sky. So initially, especially press down to the left heel. And in fact, if you have a knee problem, you can bend the left knee and just press down through the left heel and the hip. But if you can't straighten the leg, go ahead and straighten the leg. Keep rooting down through that left leg, lift the right foot up. If it works for you, grab onto that right knee and pull the right knee in towards your right armpit, even as you keep both hips heavy and that left leg rooted down, breathing here. Nice full deep breaths. ahead and bend the left knee, left foot on the ground. Straighten the right leg, right knee and toe points up to the sky. Press down through your hips, press down through the right heel. And again, if you have a knee issues, you can intentionally bend the right knee. And so even though the hip and the heel is pressing down, the knee is lifting up. But if it works for you, go ahead and extend that leg straight and press down through the entire right leg. With the left knee bent, lift the left foot up, keep pressing the right leg down and hugging that left knee in towards the left armpit. Try to keep your hips nice and even and feel the hips rooting down as well. Breathing here, nice full deep breaths. Okay. Go ahead and release. Grab that whatever you're using as a strap. Bend the right leg. And you can catch the right foot in whatever you're using as a strap. If you want to, straighten the left leg here, rooting that leg down. Then have the right leg far enough away from you that you can straighten it as much as works for you initially. So you might push that foot away from you, head and shoulders staying down. Keep the left leg rooting and then pull the right leg in towards you. Breathing here, nice full deep breaths. Okay. Take the strap, both ends, or whatever you're using, into the right hand. You might have to loop it around the right hand. Take your left hand to the left hip as a reminder to press the left hip down. And then inhale, open the right leg to the right, only as much as you can keep the left hip down. Exhale, bring the right leg back into center. Inhale, open the right leg to the right. The whole time the left hip stays down. Exhale, bring it back into center. Inhale, open the right leg to the right. This time, take your left hand off the hip. Just have it over to the side. Exhale, bring the right leg maybe across center, maybe even lifting the right hip up a little bit. Right shoulder can lift too, by the way. This is not like a twist. Inhale, lower the right shoulder down, lower the right hip down, open the right leg to the right. Exhale, go ahead, maybe cross the right leg over the left, and again, your shoulder or your hip might lift up a little bit. And then inhale, open the right leg to the right. Give yourself more strap, if you can. And then here, just starting to circle around. And when the right leg crosses over the left, then the right hip might lift up a little bit. You're just exploring your hip socket here. Okay. And then after a few times going in one direction, go ahead and change the direction of the circles. And then go ahead and come back to center. Both hips on the ground, maybe pulling that right leg in towards center, just getting a nice hamstring stretch. If you want to, you can even engage your core and lift your head and shoulders up. Breathe. I like to use that to look at my left foot and make sure I'm not sickling it. And then go ahead, lower the head and shoulders down. And go ahead and release the right leg. If you have enough strap to press out and to lower all the way down, you can. But I know we're not necessarily using yoga straps, so you might not have the room to do that. Both feet on the ground, knees bent. Lasso the left foot, straightening maybe the right leg. And then again, take a moment here. Hips heavy, both the right and the left. Right heel presses down, maybe the left leg presses down. With your shoulders and back of the head on the ground, go ahead and pull that left leg in towards you, coming into a hamstring stretch. But at first, you might need to move the left leg away. So if your knee's bent, then move the left leg away, see how much you can straighten the leg, and then pull the left leg in. Okay, right hand to the right hip. At first, keeping the right hip nice and steady, right shoulder steady. Inhale, open the left leg to the left. Exhale, bring it back into center. Inhale, open the left leg to the left. Exhale, bring it back into center. Inhale, open the left leg to the left. Take the right arm open to the side. And then exhale, bringing the left leg maybe all the way across center, maybe lifting the left hip and the left shoulder up. Inhale, lower the left shoulder and hip down, open the left leg to the left. Exhale, maybe crossing the left leg across the midline. Inhale, open the left leg to the left. Exhale, crossing that leg over. And again, just as you're ready, giving yourself more strap and just starting to do circles with that leg. And as the left leg crosses over the midline, if you choose to let it, if that doesn't bother your hip, you can let the left hip and the left shoulder lift up. You're just exploring your hip socket, gently pressing out into something with the flow. And then maybe change the direction of the circles, breathing in. And this is one of my favorite things to do with my hip, honestly. So, when you are ready, go ahead, come back to center, hug that left leg in towards you, balancing out the hips, breathing here. If you want, you can engage your core and lift your head and shoulders up. And again, you might notice your right foot sickling, and if so, you can balance that out. And then exhale, lower the head and shoulders down, put the strap over to the side. We'll come back to it probably near the end of class, feet on the ground. Just bring the hands to the tops of the thighs with your knees bent. Gently press the tops of the thighs away from you, gently swaying the hips a little side to side. And then come back into center and hug the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking from side to side. If you'd like, you can engage your core and lift your head and shoulders up. Eventually rolling all the way over onto your side and making your way up to sitting. And then once you're up and sitting, go ahead and take both feet over to your left side. So your right hip is heavy, the left hip is lifted a little bit. Lean to the low back up out of the hips, and then just gently twisting to the right, breathing here. And then inhale, unwinding to center. Take both feet over to the right side. Lift your low back with your next inhale up out of the hips and twisting to the left, breathing here. Nice full deep breath. And then inhale, go ahead, unwind, and make your way to all fours on the mat, coming to your hands and your knees. Spreading the fingers nice and wide apart, lines of the wrist fairly parallel with the front edge of the mat. And if you feel all the weight in your wrists, try to shift the weight forward and towards your fingers a little bit. Through your next inhale, stretch your spine nice and long. Exhale, round the back, look at your navel. Inhale and arch the back, head and tailbone up to the sky, just moving back and forth to the flow of your breath. Linking this movement to the rhythm of the breath and noticing how you feel as you move. How your shoulders feel, how your neck feels, how your back feels, how your wrist feels. And then with your next inhale, go ahead and stretch the spine nice and long. Exhale for the low ribs, gently hugging in. Feel the bottom tips of the shoulder blades gently moving towards each other on the back. Curl the toes under, lift the knees up. Press the hips up, back away from you, downward facing dog. Go ahead and bend the right knee, stretch out to the left leg. And bend the left knee, stretching out to the right leg. And you can, again, let your hips drop. So as you bend the right knee, you can really let the right hip drop. As you bend the left knee, you can let the left hip drop. I also let my feet twist from side to side. You can play around with that if you like. Coming back into center here. Exhale, lowering back to all fours. And coming into a child's pose. Feet together, knees a little bit apart, hips towards your heels, head towards the ground. Letting the back gently round, breathing into the fullness of your back body. Then with your next inhale, slide your way forward onto your belly, making a pillow with your hands, resting the forehead on the hands, and gently rock your hips from side to side. Eventually coming into center with your hips, press the hips down with your knees facing down, stretch long through the legs. Bring the hands to either side of the chest, hands underneath the biceps, fingers facing forward, but float the hands up off the ground. Feel the shoulders on the back, and then inhale, curling up through the chest, lifting up. Exhale and lower and back down. Inhale with the shoulders on the back, feel the bottom tips of the shoulder blades curling the chest up. Exhale and lower back down. Inhale, curling up, hands float up, breathing here, hold. Keep the curl up through the chest, lower the hands down. Act like you're dragging the hands back. And then keeping your hips nice and weighty. If you want to, you can gently move a bit from side to side here. Coming back into center. And then making your way back into a child's pose. But this time for child's pose, if you would like to, open your knees a little bit wider apart. Breathing here, nice full deep breaths. And then start to walk your hands back. And if it works for you, you'll end up in a low nil. But if that doesn't work for you, your hands can stay a little bit forward and you can play with just moving in that direction, breathing here. Then, when you're ready, come into a position. I'm trying to think of what's the best angle to show you this. I think I'm going to turn and face this way, but you can stay where you are. Come into a position where you can take both feet over to your left side. So the twist we did earlier. Press down to the right hip, lift the spine out, and again, twisting to the right side. If you want to make things a little bit more challenging for you, you use your back muscles, you keep on lifting the low back out of the hips, but you take the right hand up and wrap it around you, left hand to the knee, and you do this using your core muscles, okay? If you want to. And then go ahead, unwind. What we're gonna do from here, and only if this feels okay for your knees, is you're gonna take the right foot, the right knee further over to the right, so the right foot against the left knee, and then you're gonna slide that left foot as close to the hip as works for you. And then you're gonna maybe let that left hip lower back down a little bit, not coming all the way down though. And then you're gonna take your hands back behind you. And again, you're gonna listen to your knee, you might have to adjust things, but maybe starting to lean back a little bit and stretching out the front of the left thigh. And if you will, if it does work to lean back, you can start to lean back. And then go ahead, when you're ready, coming back up. Slowly pull the left knee over to the right and then flipping side. So both feet over to the right. Lift your low back up out of the hips, twisting. And again, if you feel like your core is strong enough to hold you, you can lift the left hand up and wrap it around. Right hand to the knee, breathe in here. Sometimes people will grab elbows and stuff. It depends on proportions though. And then inhale, go ahead, unwind. Open your left foot further to the left. Right foot, right toe pointed, right foot close to the hips. And then again, both hips may be making their way a little bit more to the ground, but not necessarily pushing the right hip all the way down. And then if you want to, start to lean back, stretching out the front of the right thigh. And if you want to go further back, you can go further back. Great. And inhale, coming back up. Moving again that right knee over, that just protects it as you're coming out. And then bring your soles of your feet together, knees opening apart, holding on to the shins. Sit up nice and tall here, Baddha Konasana. And if you want, you can also do the Ashtanga version, which is to grab right behind the big toe. You keep your baby toe side together, but you open the big toe side. And that sometimes lets the legs settle down a bit more. But you're trying to sit up nice and tall. And then go ahead and release this. And go ahead and let your feet slide further forward so your feet aren't so close to your hips. And from here, you can lengthen the spine and you can take a gentle pull forward. Inhale and come back up. Legs forward out in front of you. Since the strap is here, I almost feel like we should use it just because it's nice to do sometimes. So go ahead, grab the strap if you want to. You don't have to. Lasso it around the balls of your feet. And at first, don't try to pull forward. So at first, just pull back on the strap and use that to sit up nice and tall, particularly to try to get the top of the sacrum to move in and up. Breathing here. And then trying to tilt the hips so the tailbone starts to come back behind you more. You might even walk the hips back a little bit. And from there, if you want to ease your way into a forward fold, ease your way into a forward fold. So Becky is here with me today. And I posted an article on Facebook about how using props actually doesn't seem to prevent injuries for yoga students. And why I'm saying that now is because this is a reminder that just because you're using a strap around your feet doesn't mean you're trying to pull yourself to, halfway across the room or something. So, so this is the reminder that you're just gently pulling on the strap as you breathe. And then inhale and go ahead and come back up. You can put the strap over to the side and just ease your way onto your back. When you are on the back, hug the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking. And then you can let go of the knees and just draw circles on the ceiling with the knees in one direction, massaging out the hips and the low back. And then draw circles on the ceiling with the knees in the other direction. And then coming back to center with the hips, with your knees bent, lower the feet to the ground, feet about hip distance width apart, toes facing forward, arms can come along the sides, palms face down. Inhale the shoulders up towards the ears a little bit, and then wiggling the shoulders towards each other on the back. With your chin in neutral, press down through the back of the head and the shoulders. Press down through the feet and lift up through the chest. Then, if you want to, inhale, stretch your knees forward, let the hips float up. Exhale and lowering back down. Inhale, stretch your knees forward, hips can float up, the chest stays lifting the whole time. Exhale and lower back down. Inhale, knees stretch forward, hips float up, chest lifts up. If you would like to, you can grab the outside edges of your mat with your hands. Act like you're pulling the mat apart. Walk the shoulders underneath you more, and keep stretching the hips and the knees towards the front of the room as you stretch your chest towards the back of the room. Breathing here, bridge pose. And then with your next exhale, lower the hips all the way down. Bring your hands to the very tops of the thighs where the legs and the hips meet. Press the thighs away from you, gently swaying the knees a little side to side. And then coming back into center. Hug the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking. And then come into center here, lower the feet to the ground, grab the strap, lasso the strap around your right foot, right leg and straighten towards the sky. Straighten the left leg if that works for you along the ground. Rooting down through the left heel, both hips, pull the right leg again in towards you here. Hamstring stretch, shoulders and back of the head are down. Then this time, take both ends of the strap into the left hand. Open the right arm to the right, and this time keeping the right shoulder down. So the shoulder and the back of the head stays rooted, but you can lift the right hip up and take your right leg across the left if you'd like, coming into the twist. Breathe. Inhale, go ahead and wind into center. You might have to recenter your hips. And again, just pulling that right leg into center if you do want to engage the core and lift head and shoulders up. Notice if your left foot is sickling like mine was. Go ahead and lower back down. And then just gently switching sides. So taking the left foot out of the strap, right foot into the strap, making sure, left foot into the strap, right foot out. Making sure you start with the left foot far enough away from you that you can straighten the leg fairly much. Right leg along the ground, maybe straightening that leg, pressing your hips down, pressing the right heel down, maybe pulling the left leg in closer towards you. Breathing here, nice full deep breaths. And then taking both ends of the strap into the right hand, left arm opening to the left shoulder and back of the head stays down, but that left hip might lift up as you take the left leg across the right. Breathe. Inhale, come back up to center. You might have to recenter the hips. Pulling that left leg in towards you if you'd like to engage your core and lift the head and shoulders up. And notice if your right foot's doing anything interesting, do that. And then go ahead, lower head and shoulders down. Put the strap over to the side. Bending both knees, soles of the feet on the ground. Hands to the tops of the thighs. Gently press the thighs away from you here. Swaying the knees a little side to side. And And then coming into center, hugging the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking a little side to side. Feel free to stay in a ball, or if you'd like, you can open the knees wider apart. Pull the knees in towards your armpits as you stretch the spine long. And then if you want to, you can flip your feet up towards the ceiling, holding onto the back of the knees, the lower legs, or your feet as you continue to rock from side to side. Happy baby pose. Unwinding into center and full body stretch. Stretch the arms up above the head, legs along the ground. Lengthen your tailbone towards the feet. And if you like Shavasana, then you can lower the arms to the sides in airplane position, open the feet wider apart, tailbone still lengthening towards the feet, and relax here. If this doesn't feel great for you, then feel free to come into any position that your spine is relatively neutral and supported. So examples are knees bent, feet on the ground, feet apart, knees in, feet together, knees apart, sitting even, on the side even, but come into something that works for you, that you can relax into. And then let your eyes drift soft or closed. And just feel the breath moving through you. With every exhale, let yourself relax a little bit more. Let any muscles that feel like they're still trying to grip or grasp, just release. Let your bones feel heavy. Let your skin feel soft. And whenever you're as relaxed as you're going to get, let go of your breath and just let yourself rest. Back to your breath. Feel the breath moving through you. And as you're ready, coming into small movements, wiggling fingers and toes. circling ankles and wrists, stretching arms and legs. If you would like, you can bend the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking. And then just easing your way over onto your side, pausing if you would want to pause for a moment on the side. Feeling the breath. And then just as you're ready, coming into sitting, legs and hips heavy, spine lifting up, feeling the breath. We will end with an Om. If you'd like to join in, hands could come together in front of the heart. Exhaling. Inhale deeply. Thank you so much for coming. Have